I'll tell you, if I'm going to be doing many takes on these things, I'm going to be driving myself crazy at this point. No lie on this one here. Because I'm having a hell of a time trying to focus my thoughts. It's 2:16 in the morning, Pacific Standard Time for a Saturday morning, the 3rd of June, 2023 at Weber John City, Roseman, California. At least I can tell you that much. I was trying to talk about the other videos I've got downloading right now, and also about issues regarding the computer. So that's why I have to do the cell phone right now. And I was picking up on the book banning situation that Utah enacted. They enacted a law that some people can actually say that this particular book is bad, therefore it should be banned. It has to be put through a review process in order for it to be taken out of circulation, or at least into schools and stuff, so we don't pollute the kids. Now, the problem is when you're dealing with a state that has religion as its basis for existence, and then you come across this particular law to banning freedom of speech, the First Amendment, when you're banning communication of ideas and periodicals, even if they are contrary to what you're thinking and believing in, you just can't arbitrarily say the First Amendment doesn't apply in our state. It's bad enough we got conservatives in different red states are doing the same thing all over the place, picking and choosing which particular rights you got in the Constitution, which almost gives me the hideous feeling that the Constitution is trying to be null and voided by the conservative nation here, basically, if I want to call them that. I can't call them Trump Nation, or Trumplicans, I could call them that. But when you're trying to ban books, you're repeating certain cycles that had already been done a long time ago. Now, granted, in the 1930s, when you had a National Socialist Party coming into existence in Germany, and they were banning books. They were telling people to throw your books away. During that time, I believe, was it Alex actually? No, not Alex. There are certain writers who were talking about this damn thing. Bradbury. Fahrenheit 451. And he's seen it. He'd seen it. How a country banned books and burned them. Ideas, stories, creativity, science, except what was the official. We have people doing that right now. Utah is doing that right now. But Utah is having their law tested in courts. You want to ban certain books because you don't like them. And you want everyone else not to like them and not to read them. You can't do that. And the one book that they hold in the most utter respect, and that book is being put on the banned list because somebody wanted it reviewed, brought up all the details why, and it became banned. Now the conservatives are going crazy at this point over here, saying you can't do that. Well, why not? This particular book, who seemed to be all holy at this point over here, is not perfect. You are forcing people to believe in one certain area, one certain religion, one certain book. You want to focus squarely on one thing instead of being plural, having the freedom to believe in anything, even magic. And yet that is being tested like crazy. So the Bible is now on trial. Whether or not it's considered holy or if it's considered not holy in a way. It has the things that they don't like. All you got to do is read the list of what they've got going, and that tells you what the Bible has also in it. Death, destruction, mayhem, sodomy, sex, Some things of the Ten Commandments get broken every single time in there. Thou shalt not kill. Well, what happens? You kill people. You want it to be said that you want to love your neighbor, and yet you're going to be hating people left and right. An eye for an eye in the Old Testament. Jesus wants us to love the neighbors as we love ourselves. We really must hate ourselves because we're hating our neighbors. And we're showing that on a constant basis. We're showing that because people don't want to follow through. It's a nice soundbite to have, but they're not legitimate enough. And who's going to force the country to believe in one particular religion in the first place? People always keep forgetting this damn thing. It's one thing if you're really holy and devout and you already got maybe a larger population that just wants its own population to believe in it. That's fine. But we got millions of people in this country with a lot of belief systems. We can't force them to believe in just one. The Bible, the Constitution of the United States won't allow it. It was created that way. There had been other countries that actually had mandatory religions. And if you were of a different order, a different sect, a different group that looked at religion and belief differently, you're considered outsiders, heathens. You must be converted or else. People keep failing to read history these days. I was hearing stories growing up as a kid in schools and in different places about we had Holy Crusades happening from England being sent to the Middle East trying to convert people, and we've had the blessing of a Catholic Pope. There wasn't anything concerning about a Protestant Pope, a Lutheran, a Baptist. Was there a Jewish Pope? No, had to be Catholic. So now we focus on the Catholicism here. Because in the so-called civilized world of ancient times, Christianity was spreading itself out, and an organized religion formed during that time, if I understand it correctly. Catholicism, you needed to have a Holy Father, and then you had to need the organizational structure to support the theoretical belief in faith. Christ, when he was talking to people, he wasn't trying to organize religions. He was just talking to them. He was Jewish. He was Jewish. But people who have believed in Christ had sworn off Judaism to believe in Christ. People are trying to organize it in different ways to organize Christianity. But Christ was still a Jew. He was Jewish of faith, of belief, of birth. If anything, we should have been still believing in Judaism. Nothing wrong with that. Except the thing is, stuck in the Old Testament all the time. The New Testament was basically covering Christ and his adventures onward, including when he passed on and how the disciples were trying to pass on the messages, and then if there was any revelations happening, any future events that will or may be coming up to really challenge us more way than one. Warnings concerning about false prophets. To tell you the truth, I honestly hadn't been up to speed and hipped on every verse. I'll look it up on online. I've got a couple of books, hard copy. old, but I can still look at them. And somewhere in there, they're going to tell me more about the things I look at because they're old text. We still have to find out the current text by reinterpreting it in our own language, in our own way. That way we're able to, we think that we're doing a good job in trying to figure out what God was trying to tell us in the books. And keep in mind that these things were of interpretations throughout the decades, throughout the generations, throughout the centuries. I mean, we did have over a millennium, well over a millennium, to do the reinterpretations of stuff like that. Sorry. I think bugs are trying to bite me because I've got bug bites all over the damn place. Shit. Getting back to the court case concerning about Utah. Is it Utah's contention that there should be only one book to be worshipped and that's it? And everyone else should worship it or else? It should be worshipped in everywhere else, including in state and government places. It has to be there. I don't think God would want one religion forced down people's throats, but He does want His people to worship and acknowledge Him in any way that they can, or that they feel comfortable in. There was a way in the New Testament that Christ was trying to tell people that, when you pray to the Father, this is one way of doing it. And He knows that in the Jewish faith, they had many prayers, and they called God the One, or they called Him God, or Yahweh. Oh, Jehovah. Many names for God. He who revealed Himself to Moses on Ararat revealed Himself to be I am. A declaration of what this being, name, entity, everything rolled around in two words. I am. Not of an ego, but beyond of that. And it's because of that. Sorry, I got bug work on all over this damn place. If you happen to see these little creatures, it's not special effects. I'm dealing with these little bastards on a constant basis. Irritating as they are still reminders of the things I still have to take care of. And things that matter more to me instead of a book banning. But the problem is book bannings do bother me. They do bother me a great deal. Banning ideas. The problem is we also have an issue regarding banning ideals, even the ones that we have extreme conflict with. We are given the freedom, but we are not given direction of it. We think of freedom, we think of absolute. We think of the absolute kind, but not directed. Directed means we haven't got the freedom, we are just directed in a direction here. We keep thinking freedom is absolute and therefore has no boundaries and therefore we're entitled. And the problem is the universe doesn't work in that way. And neither should man's laws sometimes. We have laws of trying to limit exposures to a few things because, they are, we considered as society harmful. Are the ideas in books and magazines extremely harmful to people? Are we allowed to have such print? Are we allowed to do such print? Is it going to have to be contained in one particular specific topic and that's it? There's nothing else to explore? You take a book that means a great deal to a lot of devoted believers and you ban it because the law that you created had told you that you find a book objectionable. We will look at it and we will make the determination. If it matches these criteria, we will say, yes, it's banned. And the most holiest book we've got, well, one of them anyway, is banned. Banned from schools. Banned from certain grades, from K through junior high, basically, as I call it, junior high. Because of the ideas and actually of the things happening in the book. The problem is we're already constantly exposed to on a constant basis already. A little kid can actually see murder outside of his room. Looks through the window very carefully and he sees things. How about there were stories about a kid or families living on the floors at times because gang shootings have picked up in neighborhoods and they were constantly using houses as target practice, directly and indirectly. The problem is, those kids grew up and wrote books and stories about it, but now are being disputed because they should be fiction. Who lives on the ground? Who lives on a floor nearly all the time? Especially when you have to sleep or do your homework. Talk to the people in different areas that are becoming shot up like crazy. They'll give you those stories as real. The books that talk about differences of people back in the 1700s compared to now should have been used as references to sociology, to history, to local history of how things were back then compared to now. If there were books, and there probably were books back then, to talk about difference of religion, of skin coloring, of whatever, comparing it to one thing, it's a viewpoint on that particular history because you've got a book of that particular history and of that viewpoint. Mark Twain, you've heard of the name. Samuel Clemens, his real name, wrote books about the Mississippi River and the Mississippi life. People had a problem concerning about racism when they read these books in our time. Back then, it was written in their language, and Samuel Clemens was trying to tell people the way things were in a fictional setting with characters, but he was giving demonstrations in them about how these things were. So, sorry, I'm dealing with bug war right now. I'm sorry. I'll have to cut this short. Every time we keep banning books of different things, we lose the writers and the authors' perspectives, their viewpoints, their judgments, their observations, their thoughts on things, their recordings. Salman Rushdie, very well famous writer back in the 80s, got the ire from the Iranians and also from the religious sect that rules Iran, yeah. Rules one particular country with an iron fist and everything else. Either believe or else you're going to be toasted. He wrote the book Satanic Verses. You can't even find the book anymore. If you can, good luck on it. It was writing about Islam and how Muhammad was being portrayed. about how the Iranians were dealing with religion, about anything and everything regarding it. And he called it satanic verses because during that time they thought Islam was Satan, in a way. But he was trying to educate the public what was going on. He wasn't trying to insult anybody. He was just writing a book about what he knew and saw. And yet it was misinterpreted in a country that's so tough on anything and everything. They have to have morality police coming over to people left and right and judging them to be not moral and throwing them in jail, regardless if they're male or female. And if they're female, they're even worse. Some people are trying to get sick and tired of it and trying to do an uprising, but they need more of that. The freedom to read a book of Rushdie's caliber when he wrote it. I mean, you were trying to struggle for something and you were trying to learn something more than what you knew. And you would deserve the ire of Iran for that. I'm sorry. We called it Iran. I think it was pronounced Iran. Iran. In the Islamic faith, so I've tried to understand a little bit of it. Sources here, sources there, but me, I have to pull off from Western sources at this point over here. But you don't insult in any way, shape, or form Muhammad. You don't do any characteristics because he is more of a holy person that you don't touch him, period. You don't even mention or make light of him. Some people had. Comics and cartoons were drawn. And there was repercussions. I'm fearing the same damn thing happening in the United States here. If we happen to get into a very secular society where everything has to be out of one particular religion, we're turning out to be just like Iran. And that's what I got a problem with. I value freedom. I value the First Amendment like crazy. I know there are limitations for it. I agree with it. I accept it. Some things I can move and other things I can't. Just out of respect, I don't go after anybody else's religion. I don't make jokes about it. That's someone else's belief and I don't touch it. What I do say is, I don't like it when people are forced in secularism, forced into it, say you obey or else. I don't buy it. I don't go for it. If the Bible had been banned in Utah, it's a demonstration to the people and also to the idiots who wrote the laws in, and also to the chief idiot of the state, the governor, who didn't see this coming, and he should have. But he didn't, because he's a moron. He saw it, and he didn't want it. But now he's got it. Now he's got the problem, he's got the issue. He's got to figure out a way how to amend the law or deal with having the book, the Holy Bible, banned from classes. He asked for it. He's got it.